Hello and welcome back to another episode of Game Chat. It's me, Brunner. I have Elite here. Unfortunately, Anthony couldn't be here with us, but today we will continue. If you just coming from the YouTube Shorts, thank you so much. Thank you for the sub. This is our podcast channel. We talk about a variety of things, but today we're going to keep in this. But today we're going to do some more NFL because a lot of stuff has happened as of recent. So, well, Elite, first of all, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing quite well. How about yourself?
Not so good right now.
Why you get a
Actually,
cold?
huh?
Why you get a cold?
No. I've just recently had another terrible 24 hours. Shout out if you remember that episode.
Oh boy, what happened?
Okay, so I work night shift, and I really didn't eat yesterday or that day. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna grab me some McDonald's. And then I went, yeah, my options are limited. What's open at midnight. You know what I mean? So I just get a 10-piece and fries. So I online order it, and I go to the one by my house, and that place is packed apparently at midnight. And it like usually I'll get like just maybe a drink or like a medium fry on the way home, just something to munch on, and it's usually empty. But today of all days, it decided to be packed. And I was in that drive-through line for about almost 30 minutes just for an online order. And sometimes they usually like lock the inside, so like if they're short staffed, then like they don't have to deal with anybody inside, so it's just limited to drive-through. So I'm in this line, and then I finally get my stuff, and then so I'm driving home, put the bag on my seat, and I'm driving, and then I make a turn, and then the fries just go flying out onto my car floor. And there's not one fry left in the bag, not even the little fries that are like at the bottom of the bag. There's zero fries left. And I'm like, oh my God. And then so I get home, you know, and then so I get home, and then I eat my nuggets, and the nuggets taste like they're garbage. They taste horrible.
Oh, they've probably been sitting there for half an hour.
Yeah, exactly. And then not only that, I come home. It was Wednesday morning, technically. And then I wanted to watch The Mandalorian because there are new episodes every Wednesday. And of course, it's not out yet for me. So I'm like, great. And then so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to log in on my phone. And then, of course, my phone is signed out. So I'm like, great. And then I'm like, I'm just going to refresh the Xbox app. Maybe it's that. And then my Xbox decides to crash, and I'm like just sitting down, and I'm like, bro, I'm so tired. I do not want to get up. And then so like I literally had to get up. I pressed the button because the thing froze, and then like it still like was just like the frozen screen. So I literally had to unplug it and then plug it back in. And
What's that
then
all about, you think?
and then and then at work, oh, even like when I finished at work, we have. I'm not going to go into specifics of what I do at work, but the information I work on a computer, and the information I have to like um quality control it, and I didn't get to finish my work, and this is the first time ever, and then I'm so upset at myself that I didn't finish, and I left a bunch available. And then so and I should have said something to my boss like, hey, like there's something wrong with the computer because that computer always has problems, but I didn't tell him. So hopefully my morning counterpart won't snitch on me and be like, hey, this guy didn't finish his work, because I left him a bunch of work left.
So you have to like have your work done before you leave, and
Yeah,
then it starts like a different thing. So you just can't go pick up where you left off then.
correct.
Okay, that sucks. I always hated jobs like that where you like had kind of like I mean, I guess that's what I love about my job. Like, if I decide to like stop working at 5 o'clock or six, whatever, you know what I'm saying? I'll just be like, okay, it's there for tomorrow. You know what I mean? If I don't get something done, but because that is a lot of stress of like having to have stuff done and then having to worry about, am I going to get in trouble? And then, dude, you know that French fry? It's kind of funny you say that. So this morning we had a bunch of appointments of so my son had to go to the orthodontist. He had to get like something taken off and then go to the dentist to get something done and then go back to the orthodontist to get the thing put back on. So I'm sitting in a car for about 2 hours this morning and I look over and there's one French fry underneath my seat. And I pick this French fry up and this thing is like as hard as hell. I don't eat in my car. So it must have been Anna or whatever. Somebody dropped a French fry. And this thing, for all I know, could be like 7 months old. There's gonna be one fry you're gonna find 7 months from now underneath your seat for the damn French fries. But I boycotted ever since COVID. I stay away from McDonald's just because you're always getting cold food now. Like it's like the whole idea with McDonald's is you have to eat that within like 2 minutes of getting it. Otherwise, it's cold quicker than anything. And I couldn't imagine eating a McNugget that was like it's probably hard as hell, crusty as hell, cold. Ugh, nothing worse than cold French fries and cold McNuggets. It's like, geez, Louise, poor Brunner.
Yeah.
You guys could, you should have went to In-N-Out Burger
Fucking, I wish.
or Whataburger. Go to Whataburger
Yeah.
down the road. How late do they open?
Whataburger's open, but again, that like they're not as efficient as McDonald's. You know what I mean? Like McDonald's usually like they have a system and they get it out quicker. But since Whataburger's like bigger patty, so it takes longer to make and
Yeah,
longer
it's
to
like
get.
Five Guys. You got to wait forever for Five Guys. So, what do you think? What do you think about your Chargers? They doing anything?
Uh no, we're not doing anything right now. The only thing that we need to do is to pay Austin Eckler. And that dude deserves it. He deserves all the money in the world because when our receivers hooked, he stepped up and he's in the top 5 amongst wide receivers on most receptions or most catches. He has more than Devontae Adams.
And
And
he
like
just
he
asked
does.
for a trade, correct?
Yeah, he's at because he wants to get paid. He's looking for an extension. So he says, if you're not going to extend me, then send me to a team that will extend me. But right now is just bad timing because we have to pay the defense, and then Herbert, uh, he's up. We're probably going to sign his 5th year and then pay him. His 5th year is due next year, and then we're gonna have to pay him. So it's just like right now we're really tight on money. But I mean, as a whole, like we were talking about it. This year has been like historically bad for running backs because Josh Jacobs got tagged, Saquon got tagged. Um, they couldn't come up with. Eagles decided to part ways with Miles Sanders, so he went somewhere else. And then now this whole Austin Eckler situation has just been terrible for running backs.
So right now, your cap space, when I'm looking at it for 2023, you have 16 million cap space right now. The big contracts that you're carrying is, believe it or not, is one of the biggest cap numbers is JC Jackson. That's your biggest cap number. And then Khalil Mack, Bosa. I mean, Mike Williams. So there's a really cool website. I was telling Anthony about it. You should check it out. It's called overthecap.com. And it's basically every NFL team's cap space, what contracts they are, when the contracts expire. But what it does really good is, as you know, and the whole thing is about dead money. Who has the biggest dead money on the books? And that's really kind of where the number they look at. Like we could say a cap number, but it really might not be affecting the overall cap as much because it might be through bonuses or whatever. The guy who I see that really, when you look down here and you go Eckler only has a cap hit of 7 million. Okay, his base salary he's only making $6.2 million a year. But then you go up and you look at somebody like it just blows my mind when you look at certain people and you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe that that guy's making that much money. But if you look at his base, he's actually one of the highest paid players on the team right now, Austin Eckler, which is kind of crazy. Like he's making more money than Keenan Allen. He's making more money than Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack. Now, granted, he touches the ball more than them. Herbert, Herbert, that's the one you guys got to worry about because he's got to be coming due, I would think, right? Was he got one more year before he hits that arbitration year?
Yeah, next year will be his next year. That's when we will decide if we have to pick up his fifth year.
Right.
And I think Miami did it early for Tua. But I think Eckler deserves it because you mentioned Keenan and Bosa. I mean,
They're
Eckler,
always hurt.
Eckler's played. I think he played the whole season.
I think so, and that's what I'm saying is if you look at it for the amount he touched a ball between passes in the flat, between carrying the ball, I bet you I would probably say 48% of the ball touches were him. And it's that same thing as that. Remember a few years ago when it might be a little bit before your time, but we had Jimmy Graham got in this big thing with the Saints because they wanted to pay him as a tight end, but he was putting up receiver numbers and they were using him like a receiver. And that's why he left and went to Seattle. Um, and it's kind of like there's certain players that he doesn't like. To me, Austin Eckler isn't a running back. He's kind of like that Swiss Army knife. He's a little bit of. It's kind of like what Debo Samuel had. Like you know what I'm saying? It's he's a totally different position. You can't really just say he's one thing because you use him for so many different things. I mean, that's your guy you go to when you need 3rd and 3. He's your safety on the outside, 4 yards out. You know what I'm saying? It's so I think they'd be foolish not to because I mean, pretty they have a fairly decent squad and but I think if Eckler did not return, I think you'd have some issues, in my opinion. But when do you think that Aaron Rodgers is going to get signed?
When I think he's going to get signed before the draft. First of all, I just want to put it out there. I've been seeing a lot of Packers fans saying they want 2 firsts for Aaron, which is stupid because I mean you got less for Devontae Adams. You only got 1 first round and 1 second round, and the dude's the best wide receiver in the league, and he's in his prime right now. He's 30 years old, and you guys want to get rid of a 40-year-old quarterback, and you want more.
It blows my mind. It's like all I ever hear about with Packer fans is, oh, we paid Aaron Rodgers too much money. We have no money to go get anybody else. Their cap space is $23.5 million. They have more money than the Chargers. They have plenty of money to go get people. They're just friggin' cheap. They don't want to go get people, and they agreed to keep Aaron Rodgers. Now, granted, like Aaron Rodgers said on the Pat McAfee show, if he didn't win those 2 MVPs, they would have probably already moved him a long while back ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the truth. He wouldn't have got this extension if he didn't win that first MVP. And I look at it as that team. I'm looking at their roster right now. I don't see anybody that's like blowing my socks off, like, oh yeah, that dude, other than Bakatari. I always mispronounce his name, but that's the only guy that I would say is like, oh my God, he's a stud. Everybody else on there is Aaron Jones is good, but Aaron Jones, you could find 3 other running backs that could do what he does. In all honesty, he's not really making money. He's playing for cheap contract, but when you sit and think about it, I can't wait till he kind of moves and we'll start to see the alignment. I do think the trade yesterday with Cleveland put him in position to pick up some other stuff to make that trade because they also picked up Mekhi Hardman. So the Jets signed him yesterday. So I don't know if that's going to go in a package or if that's going to be the replacement for the guy they traded. But I don't think they would have signed Azard if they weren't sure they weren't going to get
Yeah,
Aaron,
yeah.
But it's interesting when I think about it.
Mhm. you say the Packers have 20 million in cap. It's like nobody. It's like they have that because the thing too is nobody wants to play in Green Bay.
Yeah,
It's a small city. It's a
very
small
small
town,
market.
very small
They
market. So
they had
the
the
only
fifth
people,
fifth highest cap available.
yeah, the only people are going. Like the only reason you would go is like if you get paid a lot of money. You know what I mean? That's the only thing attracting you to the city's money.
Yeah.
And then because you don't have Aaron anymore. Aaron, wants Aaron, attracts people into Green Bay. But I honestly think my prediction for the Jets trade for Aaron will be those 2 second round picks and then maybe a wide receiver like I think Denzel Mims or maybe somebody else because now the Packers lost wide receiver one in Lazard, all they have is Watson and Dobbs, and then I think that's it because I don't think Cobb's coming back.
No, I think Cobb's going to end up being signed with the Jets on like a sweetheart, like a league minimum, veteran minimum, and I think he's going to try to do one more run with his buddy. It's interesting. Like I was having this discussion today with Jack, and it was like when I think about the Packers last year, everybody's like, "Oh, Aaron Rodgers fell off the cliff." First 6 weeks, the Packers were doing horrendous, and it's because he had all these rookies. He lost his primary with Devontae. Okay. Aaron Jones, if I remember right, got hurt in game 3. He was dinged up. He got nicked up. And so he wasn't kind of Aaron Jones until he got kind of healed up a little bit. And he was throwing, remember that? What I think it was Dobbs kept dropping the ball. Was it Dobbs?
Both of them, Watson and Dobbs.
Every time the ball came within there, they would just drop it. Like it would hit their hands and drop. And it took them all of a sudden about week 8, they started catching the ball. And then the Packers started winning games.
Mhm.
And it's always that argument of like that year that Cam Newton was with the Patriots. I'm like, who did he throw to? He had nobody to throw to. So of course he looked like he sucked. But if you have nobody to throw to, it is what it is. These guys are rookies. They have to learn the league and the speed of the league. You can't put that on the quarterback. You don't go from an MVP year to a dog in one swing of the bat. You know what I'm saying? There is like a gradual progression. We kind of even saw it with Tom Brady. We kind of saw him kind of start to slope off. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's it. But when I look at this, you think about the teams that made big moves. Bears had the biggest cap space. They had almost $40 million cap space. Now I don't know what they have now because they're it's crazy. Oh yeah, they're like crazy now. And so then the Panthers had a ton of cap space. They went out and got a bunch of players. Now they went and signed 2 big names. In my opinion, the reason they got them is because they probably paid a lot for them. Okay, with the promise of they're bringing in a quarterback in the draft. They're going for a quarterback. I hopefully I either want to see CJ Stroud if they want him to start immediately, or if they're going to run Andy Dalton, then I want AR-15, Anthony Richards, and let him sit behind Andy Dalton for a year, use Dalton as a bridge. That'll see. I think that would be pretty decent. Um, let's see what kind of happens there. I know a lot of people think that was stupid what the Panthers did with their trade, and they kind of gave away the farm with the Bears. I personally think it was good for both sides. I don't think it necessarily. We'll have to wait and see. Like I heard Keyshawn Johnson said the perfect thing about draft picks. He's like, that's fucking unknown. How many people are drafted number ones, whatever, and they end up sucking? You know, we don't know. I'd rather take a person that is an established person than necessarily draft picks. And to be honest with you, I've said it a million times. I'm not impressed with DJ Moore. DJ Moore to me is not a 1. I think he's a 2 or a 3. He's never going to be a 1 on a team. And that's just the way I feel. He had that opportunity several times and with different quarterbacks. And he's good. He's kind of like Juju. I feel the same way about Juju, but it's interesting. Who are you surprised so far is the biggest person that's moved?
I think I'm surprised Adam Thielen went to the Panthers. I
Yeah.
didn't expect it. I thought maybe he would retire in Minnesota because if you know his backstory, he's from Minnesota, grew up in Minnesota, Vikings fan from as a little kid. Went undrafted, was signed to their practice squad, and then made himself a big name. So I thought maybe he would like restructure, come back, maybe sign like a 1 year or 2 year deal to stay on the team. But
I
yeah,
It was
I'm surprised
surprising.
he
That
left.
was, but I don't know. Like I was kind of thinking about him too. Like, but I think he's in that point of I think he's trying to do a cash grab, get that bag, but he really isn't the Adam Thielen of 2, 3 years ago either. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think he realizes that I don't know. I just think he realizes that it was kind of coming to an end, and maybe I can try to grab some money. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up doing like one of them 1 day contracts a year from now, something like that. You know what I mean? With Minnesota. The guy who surprised me, the biggest move so far that I'm still like, whoa, I am super surprised the Cowboys parted ways with Zeke Elliott because Jerry Jones raved about that guy, like raved and raved and raved about him. And if he can let Zeke walk when he was basically Zeke was it was this year was like free money. I think it was only like a $1.3 million contract, and he let Zeke walk, and then he goes out and gets another running back. Like he just picked up a different running back. It makes me wonder if Dak Prescott should start to be worried next year because maybe Jerry Jones is starting to make sense and like why instead of just I don't know. I don't know. That Cowboys team, though, I have to say, they're making some serious moves, but I still think they're going to end up in second or third place in their division. But I think that, in all honesty, I think that the Eagles are just too good, even with people leaving the Eagles, which I don't understand. I don't understand. If you were that good a team last year, why would you leave just for a few bucks more? I mean,
I'm glad you brought that up. That you know Kelsey and Brandon Graham, they all signed 1 year deals, and I think Fletcher Cox as well. Like
yeah,
I you know they do that's happened because that's Howie doing it. That's not Howie Rose. That's that's Jeffrey Lurie doing that, the owner of the Eagles, because he loves those guys. And then he's like, okay, like how much? What's the minimum you'll take to come back? Like, come on, let's work something out. And you know, when Peyton left, yeah, he told her to say he's like, hey, if you guys want to move on with me, then let me leave on my own terms. So they cut Peyton, and then the same thing with Brady. Brady's like, I think I want to retire, or maybe play somewhere else. But you guys want to move on, so like, just cut me. Just let me go. And that's the owners because they love the players. But since Green Bay has no owner, like all Green Bay sees is all its numbers because it's a
yeah,
business, and that's unfortunate. And
it is unfortunate. It is because me being blessed as a Steelers fan, growing up, lifelong Steelers fan, very rarely do we ever have to see like one of our premier people in a different uniform. You know what I'm saying? Very rarely. I mean, yeah, Franco Harris did it and stuff, but for 1 year. But most of the time, like Jerome Bettis, he was drafted by a different team, but you'll always think of him as a Steeler. Big Ben, I didn't know this. I just read an article. Did you know that the 49ers reached out to Big Ben once Jimmy G got hurt? They wanted to see if Big Ben would come play, and he turned them down. And I mean, that guy will only wear a Steelers uniform. You know what I'm saying? Now, Steelers stood by him probably 2 years too long, to be honest with you. So there's also that drawback when you're emotionally involved with somebody, like you love somebody. You kind of also have to kind of look at it from a point of view of, but I totally hear that. And I can see where that would be such an issue. Like I have no problem with Aaron Rodgers when he said, Aaron Rodgers literally said, I am probably, how did he word it? the most famous, was it the most famous person that played in the Packer, or the best Packer of all time, or something like that. He said something along those lines, and he's catching a lot of shit for that. He's the longest quarterback in the history of that franchise. He's won more MVPs than any other player in Packer history. He does have a ring. I think he went two. If I'm not mistaken, he went to two Super Bowls. He lost one, if I remember right,
No,
and
he's
won
just
one.
1-1.
Okay, so I mean, he's been to several. Yeah, his playoff runs have been kind of suspect, but the reality is, once you start to break up that great squad of, Nelson and Cobb, and when you had that great team and Matthews and um, who's the other guy I'm thinking of? Hawk and all these guys that were on defense, when you started breaking that team up, you didn't have a team anymore. And he still was winning MVPs. And I don't have a problem with him saying that at all. I think that the thing that kind of makes me a little bit crazy is I would not be surprised, go on the record, hit the recording mark at 28 minutes, if the New York Jets go to the Super Bowl. I would not be surprised. That defense is pretty flippin' good. That offense was pretty good last year. They almost made the playoffs with a bunch of rookies. I mean, that kid Garrett Wilson is the real deal. And now you're gonna have Tom Brady throwing at him, as opposed to whoever, the kid from BYU, or Mike White. I mean, you're gonna have Aaron Rodgers. Their running back was decent. They brought in some players. I wouldn't be surprised if they go deep in the playoffs, make the Super Bowl. And that's crazy to say because it's the flipping Jets, but it just feels different now. It feels different.
And that's why they prioritized Aaron, because he's that guy, who, like, since you have a young Jets core, like, those kids knew Aaron, like, they watched, like, growing up, they know who he is, and that's why like they weren't prioritized on Carr, because Carr is just like another guy, or like they didn't get Jimmy G because, I mean, like, they know Jimmy G wins, but it's like Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. He's like
It's Aaron Rodgers.
he's just that legendary status. But it's very unfortunate because when Peyton wanted to leave, Jim Irsay said, we'll cut you. When Brady wanted to leave, Robert Kraft's like, okay, Tom, I love you. You can leave. But now when it's Aaron's turn and he has no owner, they're like, no,
They're like they're
you've
trying to
done
like
you've
get this.
done everything for this organization, but fuck you.
It's absurd to me. Like when you sit and think about like, oh, we want 2 first rounders. What? We're not talking a guy that's like got another 10 years of playing time.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking a guy that's probably got a 3-year window at tops. He's what, 39 years old right now?
Mm-hmm.
So he's probably got 2-year window. And it's like, I don't know. I don't understand him. I will say one thing that was kind of interesting is I saw a flag football game that Aaron Rodgers was in about 3 weeks ago. And he was just in shorts and a t-shirt playing flag football. He's in a lot better shape than I would have thought. Like he must wear like a flak jacket or something because he looks a little bit thick, like when he's in uniform. But like, I mean, he looked like kind of cut and and I was kind of surprised. Maybe he's like just doing a lot of push-ups in the darkness. I don't know, but you know, but it was kind of surprising to me that like how like it's amazing to me when I look at these guys. Like you look at Tom Brady, I would not be surprised if Tom Brady's on a roster somewhere next year. Like I still feel it now. I know he has that like $350 million contract with Fox or whoever it is, but and I don't know. Like Jack brought up a good point. Just because you were a good quarterback, does that really mean you're going to be a good commentator? Why would they give him that kind of money without ever hearing him call a game? And but that's a whole other conversation we've already had. I think that's getting to be too washed out. There's too many people in the booth. But
Mm-hmm.
so, where do you think the Chargers are going to end up? What's your
I,
early
I would
prediction?
like the Chargers to get a wide receiver. I think Quentin Johnson from TCU. I think that's his name.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be taken first. But I would either want Jordan Addison from USC or Jackson Smith from Ohio State. I really want Jackson Smith, but if we get Jordan Addison, I'll take him. But Keenan got hurt, Mike Williams got hurt, and then our other wide receiver that we get are like who are in the wings, Guyton and Palmer. Guyton missed the whole season with an injury, and then Palmer's okay, but I think if one's available, I think we should take him. I've seen like a lot of people saying like, "Oh, we should take a tight end," which is dumb. I think because we just re-signed one of our tight ends who has missed a lot of time with injury, but that guy Gerald Everett, I don't like him. If you don't know who he is, he was the guy who Justin Herbert tried to throw it to, who played Kansas City, but he was too tired, so it led to a pick. I haven't liked him since the start. I think we should just move on with him. Um,
So I think the tight ends, unless you're the Patriots always seem to pick a tight end first for some reason forever. Um, unless it's a Gronk or a Kelsey, you're going to pick them up in the second, third round. That to me is a waste of a top pick. I see.
Atlanta.
How's your offensive line?
Uh, we need depth, but like we can do that with veterans. You know what I mean?
Okay,
But because they were banged up, Rashawn Slater missed the entire season. But we just need
which is
depth,
good. He'll come back.
and then which I mean, again, if we draft another offensive lineman, then that's 3 years in a row we've drafted offensive lineman in the first round. I mean, Jamari Salyer, who we picked up last year, I mean, he's a good guy. Slater is a beast. I mean, I'm glad we picked him up. But again, like if Mike and Keenan get hurt, then who's Herbert going to throw it to? You know what I mean?
Right, and that's what happened
And
last
now
year.
your
That's
your
exactly what
your
happened
weapon
last year.
X, Austin Eckler, wants more money, and then might get traded, and then that was your safety harness. So you
The
need
one
somebody to
guy,
throw it to.
the one piece of depth that I would say the Chargers I think need is I would start looking at a backup behind Joey Bosa. Bosa seems to me he injury prone, just like his brother. Um, and when he's on, he's on. But that's something. And then, how is your secondary, your corners, and your safety? Who do you have for safety?
Yeah, we need another safety because our guy Nasir Adderley, he just retired. He's only 25, but he's like, I think for health reasons, he's like, I have to retire, which sucks. So we're down another safety. But I think I don't know, maybe JC Jackson can come back and like do his thing again, when he was like almost defensive player of the year.
Yeah,
Um
we should
but
for the money
again
he's
we have
making.
Asante Samuel Jr. and that kid is a beast.
He
We
got hurt
drafted him.
last year. He got hurt
Yeah, he
last year,
did,
if I
but
remember
when
right.
yeah, but
He
when
is a
he
beast,
when he
though.
was
He is a
playing,
beast.
yeah, when he was playing,
Yeah.
he was doing really well, and then he locked up, although he did get burned. But there's some place where he would lock up Devontae, so that's good. And I think it's year 3 or 4 for him. So that
The
kid,
reality is
that
you're going
kid,
to get that anyway. I don't care how speedy you are. You're going to have a play every once in a while. They're just going to get you, and that's the whole. It is what it is. So, yeah, I don't. I think a receiver would make sense. Especially if they could get like somebody. That kid Jordan from USC is phenomenal. He's a phenomenal player. Um, I don't know if he'll fall far enough down for y'all. But the other thing they said this year is very heavy with running backs. I don't know if they'll go get somebody to be behind because Chargers always seem to love two running backs for some reason. They always seem to have two running backs. um, but I could see that. But I think a
I think
receiver is where you need to go.
because I think so. At the first five are going to be quarterbacks. I think that, and then I think some defensive players like some edges, and
Well, I
then
think its first three are going to be the first three. I think are going to be quarterbacks. Then I think your first edge is going to come off. That's going to be that kid that was out of Alabama, who's kind of like people are questioning, like because he had a little bit of whatever, like he had. I forget what he did. I think there was a car accident or something. I think that's going to be the first kid. I think it's going to go three defensive, then 4 or 5 of quarterbacks. Now, I could be wrong because I only heard 2 of those quarterbacks are ready to play now. There's only 2 of them. So the 2 that I heard is Bryce out of Alabama, which a lot of people are having issues with because he's only stands like 5'10", 5'9",
Yeah.
something like that. He's short. And then CJ Stroud. So if you go into the AR-15s, then you're at that point is you're willing to kind of sit and say, now if you have a bridge, there's still a lot of bridge quarterbacks out there. Wouldn't be surprised if the Saints draft a quarterback because I don't think they really I don't think they really have it in Winston. I don't think that they're going to really, and I don't think Baker's the guy. You know me, I
What
like
about
Baker.
DC? What about their car?
You know, I don't know. Like, dude, he's that guy. Derek Carr is the ideal guy. When he's good, you're like, yeah, he's a top 5 quarterback. And then all of a sudden, he's like, what the fuck happened to him? He's like 25th quarterback. He's like super inconsistent. You know what I'm saying? And it's like when he's on, he's on. Now, I keep saying he's never been anywhere but the Raiders. So maybe it is a geographic change, different coaching staff. All of a sudden, he'll be this phenomenal guy. I don't know. All I know is that I don't think Winston's going to be the guy there if you in the long haul. Baker Mayfield's not going to be the guy there in the long haul for Tampa Bay. We know that the friggin' Red Rocket's not going to be the guy forever in Carolina. They're going to, believe it or not, this is corny as it sounds, the Jets need a quarterback because Aaron Rodgers is probably 2 years tops. They're going to need somebody. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? I
that's
don't,
Zach Wilson. I think that's
I,
why they
I
want
don't,
Aaron.
come
That's why they
on,
want
dude.
Aaron. That's why they want Aaron. So they hope that some Aaron Rodgers rubs off on Zach Wilson,
The
and
only
then
thing,
they're gonna
the
try again
only
with
thing
Zach
Zach
Wilson, and
Wilson's
then
doing, sleeping with your mom, dude. That that guy is like, dude. I don't know. He's not the one. Patriots need a quarterback. Mac's not the guy. You know, that's kind of where I think there's so many people that need a quarterback. I mean, literally, it'd be easier to say the teams that are quarterback safe: Josh Allen, the Chargers, the Bills, the Chiefs,
the Bengals.
Bengals, Eagles, Bears. I think that's it.
I still think I said this a long time ago. Um, I think Baltimore should go out and get Trey Lance. Brock
I'll
Purdy's
be
number
honest with
one.
you. I think Lamar is had a huge awakening, a humbling experience because nobody's reached out to him because the dude cannot throw. I don't know why everybody on ESPN is trying to push this agenda like, oh my God, this guy's a Hall of Famer. Da, da, da. He's not.
I
He's
think
not.
I think I think why that agenda is being pushed is because so many teams were in on Deshaun Watson, and it's like Lamar's actually won an MVP. Like he's got the trophies
Yeah,
to
but
prove it. So where
Deshaun
where
Watson
are
could
those
throw
where are
better
those people now that
because
you know
Deshaun
who
Watson had
are
better
in the Deshaun
accuracy.
Watson sweepstakes? Like why aren't they
So
getting
I
somebody who's similar to Deshaun Watson?
so I googled a stat. His career completion, his efficiency, he's 40% passing. Long passes over 20 yards, 22%. That's not the guy I want as a quarter. And the reality is, and I'm not trying to be, maybe we should just delete it. I think if it was a different color, they wouldn't be talking about him. And it is my opinion. And I'm not trying to be like, I don't give a shit. But the same thing when Cam Newton was done, Cam Newton was done. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I think that's the situation with him. Dude got hit as a knee injury. He has a knee injury. He's a mobile quarterback. We don't even know what that dude. He did a partial tear on his ACL.
Also the rankings for like the teams had a report card like best facilities, best coaching staff, and Ravens were ranked last in whatever in the medical for trainers
Yeah.
because of Lamar. Leave it off this because we're at an hour now. I think the only reason like the whole collusion thing is that, like, oh, why the teams aren't who are in Deshaun Watson aren't, going for Lamar? Is that because the draft is better next year?
That
Because
could be.
Caleb Williams is going to be declaring, and then I forget who the quarterback for North Carolina. They're saying he's really good.
Well, there's also that guy this year, Tennessee Hooker. I'd like to see him get drafted. He's like almost 30.
Or Malik Hooker.
Yeah, he's pretty
Yeah.
good.
So I think that's why, because they're like,
It could be.
well, I'd rather get Caleb than Lamar. So that's it.
I think
But anyway,
it could be. Cool.
yeah. All right. Before we go, check us out on the Instagram, on the socials. If you don't want to follow us individually, just follow us on Instagram at Game Chat Pod. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/at Game Chat Pod. Elite, is there anything you want to promote? Anything you're watching? Anything you want to give us a shout out to?
Oh,
Anything you're reading?
Yellow Jackets on
Yellow
Showtime.
Jackets. What's Yellow Jackets?
Yellow
Showtime.
Jackets it's a series. It came out last year. Season 2 comes out tomorrow. It's really cool. It's kind of like a horror movie, like a horror kind of suspense thing about this high school girls soccer team. Really good cast, really good series. Check it out.
All right. For me, you guys should go check out on Netflix Genius, the Kanye West documentary. It's really good. All right. That's it. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys next one.